successful Expo 86. Live from BC Place in Vancouver, the CFL on CTV presents the Toronto Argonauts and the British Columbia Lions. Good evening, everybody. Al McCann with a warm welcome from Vancouver and the unpredictable Canadian Football League. Last night, of course, the Calgary Stampeders bounced back and knocked off the Ottawa Rough Riders, who were previously undefeated. Now we're down to 2. And if the BC Lions have their way tonight and the Saskatchewan Rough Riders have theirs tomorrow, we could have no undefeated teams left. But of course, that's still in the lap of the football gods, and we're looking for a good one tonight before a big crowd at beautiful BC Place here in Expo City. For more on the two football teams, let's go upstairs to Dale Isaac and Frank Rigney.
Thank you, Al. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Friday Night Football on CTV. The Argos have played well in this building since it opened. As a matter of fact, they have the best record of any visiting team to play the Lions here in Vancouver under the Dome. They've won twice, of course, a tied one. They also have that Grey Cup victory in '83. But they're at a big disadvantage tonight, Frank, because of the loss of Conridge Holloway.
No question about that, Dale. As a matter of fact, both teams are missing some key football players, but I think the pressure really is on the youngster Norm Gibbs at quarterback for the Argonauts. He has been in the league. This is his 4th season in the Canadian Football League. He really has not had a big football game yet with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers or since he's come with Toronto. He needs one tonight. We certainly know he can run with that football, but he's got to be able to throw it downfield.
And, of course, last week against the Montreal Alouettes, after Conridge Holloway picked up the injury, it was really Toronto's defense and their special teams that carried them to victory last week. And, of course, Holloway is not expected to see action tonight.
The big man offensively, I think, and a big improvement for the Toronto Argonauts on offense is their great speed at receivers. And, of course, they picked up Chris Wood from the Edmonton Eskimos. And, he's a game breaker. He was with the Eskimos. And although he's having contractual problems with the Toronto Argonauts, he is their leading receiver and the game breaker, I think, on the outside.
And, of course, he also gives them that big speed as a punt returner. And that is really what Bob Obilovich pointed to yesterday in the pregame press conference, was the team speed that the Argonauts now have.
Well, the Argonauts, as championship football clubs, will live off their kicking game and off their defense, and hope the offense can contribute too. Here's one of the great newcomers for 1986, maybe a great Rookie of the Year candidate. Willie Pless, number 32, had 2 interceptions last week against Montreal, leads this football club in initial tackles with 16. Watch for him. They say he's a little undersized, but he plays big.
And he covers sideline to sideline. He's out of the University of Kansas. He is a dandy. Could be the defensive find of the year. But now the kicking game. This is where the Argonauts may have the big edge tonight.
Well, no question about it. Hank Olisic averaged over 55 yards a kick last week against Montreal. As a matter of fact, he's averaging over 51 for the year, easily leading the Canadian Football League in that category. And he's going to give the Argonauts a big edge.
As for the BC Lions, Paul Osbaldiston, the youngster, will be place kicking and punting tonight because the Lions have lost both of their punters now already in '86. Fernandez went down last week, and of course Pasaglia went down in preseason.
Well, it's hard to say who they're going to miss the most. Lou Pasaglia, of course, does both for the orange and brown when he's healthy, but also another big loss, and everybody in the country, I'm sure, knows about this. Merv Fernandez will not be playing in this ball game, and unfortunately, rather coincidence, both Pasaglia and Fernandez were hurt when they were making a tackle or attempting to make a tackle when they were punting the football. So a bit of an unusual circumstance for injuries, but no question, Merv Fernandez, considered by many the best football player in the Canadian Football League, will not be around for at least 4 to 6 weeks.
Jim Sandusky will replace Merv Fernandez, and really, the Lions haven't lost a whole lot because Ned Armour and Sandusky together are the same 2 guys who started the Grey Cup and won it last year. So really, they're not going to be hurting that much.
I don't know if I agree with that if they haven't lost too much, but this is a guy that has to have a big game tonight. Roy DeWalt has not had a big start so far in 1986. He needs to come up big tonight.
So we've got the Argonauts and the Lions coming up in a few moments.
Gentlemen, would you please rise and join in the singing of the national anthem, O Canada, as sung by Ontario's Lisa Martinelli.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons
are live from BC Place Stadium in Vancouver, and there is Ontario Premier David Peterson. He is here in Vancouver as part of Ontario Days at Expo, and he performed the ceremonial kickoff for this football game tonight. That is out of the way now, and the two teams are getting ready for the official opening kickoff from the BC 35-yard line, where young Paul Osbaldiston will handle the kicking duties for the Lions, who are without, of course, Louis Pasaglia for this game, and he may be back next week. And Merv Fernandez, of course, who handled the punting in Pasaglia's absence, gone for 2 months with a broken hand. The Argonauts send Craig Ellis in his second game as a member of the Argonauts, along with Chris Woods back deep to receive. Woods will take it at his 17-yard line. This football game underway in Vancouver. Chris Woods is brought down by Darnell Clash, shy of the 30-yard line. A 12-yard return as we take a look
Woods on the return,
at
down by Darnell
starting
Clash.
backfield for the Argonauts. Norman Gibbs getting his first start. He's been around the CFL about 4 years, but hasn't played much. And the receiving core, Woods will stay out there as one wide receiver along with Ken Joyner. Paul Pearson and Steve Cox inside. It's first down Argonauts at their own 29. We're just underway here at BC Place.
Big speed in that receiving core of the Argonauts, with the exception of Paul Pearson, but a very dependable receiver at slot back number 25.
Former Blue Bomber Norman Gibbs with the pitch to Craig Ellis, the former Saskatchewan Roughrider, and he has close to 5. Class got over there in a hurry to bring him down along with Larry Crawford. The offensive line, and some problems here for the Argonauts. A newcomer, of course, is Willie Thomas. Another newcomer is Jeff Arp. Ian Beckstead retired quickly on them right before training camp. And defensive line for the BC Lions, Rick Klassen, should be spelt with a K, actually. Parker, Gray, and Ballard. Ballard, of course, a former Argonaut. Second down and 5 for Toronto at their own 34-yard line. Forced Gibbs to pull it down, and now he's on the move for a first down, and he brings it out across the 40 to the 42-yard line, being pursued by Walter Ballard. First down for Toronto.
But then we talked about before the game, this young guy's ability to run with the football. We all know he can take off. That's probably the best thing that we've seen him do in his brief appearances in the Canadian Football League. You're not going to beat anybody just running the football, or at least unless you're Ken Hobart.
The leading rusher in the CFL again. First down for the Argonauts at their own 42-yard line. The handoff to Craig Ellis. Glenn Jackson wraps him up after a gain of a couple. He slipped out of the grasp of James Parker, who was there quickly into the backfield. Jackson, of course,
is the fact that the BC Lions are not bringing any linebackers to put additional pressure on this young quarterback. I guess they feel that they can get to him with the front 4, but he had time to throw the football. Watch this hit now by the veteran linebacker, Glenn Jackson. Jars the ball loose, but it was not considered a catch, so we'll have our first kick of the game.
Olesic averaged 55.5 yards last week against Montreal. It's a shorter kick than that. Bounces to Darnell Clash, and he's down quickly on his own at his 26-yard line. So that's where the BC Lions will go on offense for the first time tonight. We're scoreless here at BC Place. We'll be back in just a moment. Back at BC Place, we're in the first quarter early. The Lions getting the ball for the first time now after the punt by Olesic. First and 10 for the Lions at their own 26.5, close to the 27-yard line. We've played just 2 minutes and 22 seconds of the opening quarter, and Roy DeWalt will now go to work offensively. He did not have a great game last week at Edmonton. The Eskimos really did a number on the Lions. DeWalt comes out throwing. Down the middle, wide open, the former Argonaut, Jan Carinci, with a first down up to the 40-yard line, 45-yard line.
Oh, and he whistled that ball in there. 4 interceptions against DeWalt against the Eskimos last week, and he was not sharp, but look at that. Carinci, of course, coming with Ballard, and then Nick Kepler, 2 football clubs.
13-yard gain to the 45 for the BC Lions on their first offensive play. A little bit of a delay here to Kevan Jenkins. Bangs off a couple of guys, Rodney Harding and Willie Pless. Bring them down after gain of just a couple on the play. It'll be second down in a passing situation for the Lions. DeWalt, White, Jenkins in that backfield. The receiving corps now, Sandusky, of course, replacing superstar Mervyn Fernandez. But Jan Carinci, of course, the former Argonaut, starting at slot backer.
Dale, the Lions have had almost a total lack of rushing so far this year. 27 yards for Jenkins and 17 for White in 2 football games.
By the wall. He's looking for Jenkins. It took him a while to get out of the traffic, and then the ball was batted down by Rodney Harding as the wall tried to dump it over the onrushing lineman.
They're very fortunate they didn't turn over the football right there. They've got a new stat in the Canadian Football League now, the takeaways and giveaways, and I think it's a very telling one. The BC Lions so far are even on the year. Usually your ball clubs at the top of the league are very much at the plus side. The Argonauts are +5 in their first 2 games. Excellent.
And they lead the league. Osbaldiston to punt. Towering kick. This is Woods way back at his own 16-yard line. Pops through there for a pretty good return when it looked like the Lions had fine downfield coverage, and he brings it back to about the 25. Got 10 yards on that return after a 46-yard punt by the young man, Paul Osbaldiston, who was drafted by the Lions this year out of the Richmond Raiders junior football program.
Dale, you and Frank are referring to the takeaway giveaway. It's a little like plus minus in hockey, isn't it?
It is very much so, Al, and usually, as I say, the teams that play aggressively and the better football clubs usually are on the plus side of that mark.
Argos with the ball for the second time here in the opening quarter. Nobody open. Here goes Gibbs. Second time he's had to run it. He's got a lot of room, but there's a penalty marker down as Crawford gets the angle on Gibbs and forces him out of bounds at the BC 50-yard line, but the penalty marker was thrown way back at the Toronto 35. That would be a 40-yard gain if it holds up.
If we stop it right there, you'll see James Parker take the outside lane right here, and that's exactly what opens the hole for Gibbs to take up to the inside. Fortunately for BC Lion fans, I believe it's going to be called back. But watch Parker, who had 2 sacks in each of the 2 games against the Argonauts last year, for 4 against them in the season. You see him taking that outside pattern. He has to do that. Gibbs will take off around him. Well, the penalty is going to be against the BC Lions, so that game will stand.
You know, if Parker doesn't have a sack this year yet?
That is incredible. As a matter of fact, it's really amazing.
Holding. BC. Decline. First down.
The Lions have 7 sacks on the year, which is really not that bad. The Argonauts have only 3. And yet they're 2-0.
Right. That was referee Bud Ulwick with the call. So it's first down for the Toronto Argonauts at the BC 50-yard line. A 40-yard pickup by Gibbs, and Craig Ellis is spun around by Parker and finished off by Cruz and Jackson. A gain of about 1 on the play. Craig Ellis with a pretty good debut for the Argonauts last week against Montreal with 72 yards rushing, 39 more yards in pass receptions, scored a touchdown. Loved his line at the end of the game. If you want to see Canada get into the CFL, he's bounced around a little bit. Been 4 of the 5 clubs in the West, and now with Toronto. Second down and a little better than 9 yards to go. Gibbs gets away from him, finds an open man, and completes it for a touchdown. I believe it's Chris Woods at the 35-yard line, and the Argonauts will get another series of downs to work with. It is Chris Woods.
Watch Jeff Arp on the inside. The guards step out like this, and watch how aggressive James Parker comes around to the outside. He really doesn't give any ground. He really comes after him. Just a great job by Gibbs getting away from him. Watch 40, Parker fighting off the block. It's in there, but Gibbs avoided it.
So it's a first down. I believe I might have said touchdown.
I think
quite by accident. Of course not. It's out at the 34-yard line. Again, here's Chris Woods. Moving over there was Walter Ballard to bring him down after he was forced inside by
Flash.
Well, that's good hustle by a defensive end, isn't it? They complete the pass downfield, and he goes down there and makes a tackle 2 yards deep. Chris Woods in his 3rd year from Auburn, of course, with the Eskimos prior to joining the Argonauts.
Pickup of 2, so it's 2nd and 8 for Toronto. The ball at the BC 32-yard line. There's a penalty marker down. Throwing it into the end zone for Ken Joyner. Another marker down in the end zone.
Melvin Bird is called for interference in the end zone, but I believe you're going to have holding long before that against the Argonauts. That ball was scrimmaged from the 32-yard line, and I think Bird ran into him accidentally, but he certainly made contact. Maybe it wasn't so much of an accident. The left forearm could not pick up the holding. It appeared it might have been Willie Thomas, number 61.
Going to repeat the down.
Let's listen.
Holding. Toronto, number 66. Interference. BC, number 10.
Well,
penalties cancel. 2nd down repeated.
Kelvin Prusner, the left offensive tackle. James Parker was the fellow that was held. Don't blame him. Every once in a while you got to hold Parker.
Boy, isn't that the truth. And, of course, one of those victories, as you see, the breakup game in the first year this beautiful facility was open. 2nd down and 8 for the Argonauts.
Here they come.
They picked up blitzing halfback Crawford, and Gibbs completes the pass to Paul Pearson for another Toronto 1st down. Cruz making the tackle, but it's a gain of 12 yards.
Well, we talked about young Paul just a moment ago. Not the big speed that the other receivers have for the Argonauts, but very, very dependable. In his 9th year now in the Canadian Football League. Really interesting, you know, in the first couple of years in the league, he didn't catch a pass. Bounced around to a few ball clubs. Ever since then, he's found a home.
Norman Gibbs, the young quarterback, has the Argonauts on the move. 1st down play, and the handoff goes to Craig Ellis. Gain of a couple. Glenn Jackson in on the tackle, number 37. And it'll be 2nd and a little better than 8 yards to go as you look at head coach Don Matthews of the BC Lions. Very disappointed in the performance of his club last week in Edmonton, although he gave the Eskimos an awful lot of credit for the fine game that they played. Matthews now hoping his defense will tighten up here. Argo 2nd down, a little better than 8. Trying to dump it off to Ellis. They got it to him, even though it was deflected. Ellis got to do it on his own. He gets inside the 15-yard line. It was Andre Jones, number 32, the starting safety. Got over there to put the hit on him. Parker with the pressure on Gibbs, and Gibbs comes off limping a little bit.
It looked like it was almost a swing screen. It appeared that Parker actually tipped the football. Fine play by Craig Ellis, but it is well short of a 1st down.
So we'll see Lance Chomick in there. He's been good on 5 out of 5 in field goals so far in 1986. His longest, 43 yards. This one will be a 21-yarder. Kick by Lance Chomick is good, and the Toronto Argonauts open up the scoring here in Vancouver. They lead it 3-0 over the BC Lions, and we'll be back in just a moment. And 16 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. The Argonauts put together a pretty good drive and have opened up the scoring here with a 21-yard Lance Chomick field goal. They lead it 3-0. Coach Bob Obilovich, I think, would have to be pleased with the performance of his young starting quarterback so far in this football game. Gibbs has looked sharp. 1st down to the Lions from their own 35, their 2nd possession of the ball game. Evan Jenkins has a gain of 4 out to the 39-yard line.
I think every ball club would like to establish a little bit of a running game, but look at the stats on Jenkins. He's their leading rusher.
Talk about establishing running game. How about Gary Allen and the Stampeders last night?
They did it.
The ball dumps it over the middle to Jenkins, and he's got enough for a 1st down out across the 45 to the 47-yard line. Willie Bless, linebacker, making the tackle.
DeWalt already intercepted 5 times in '86. As you look at Mervyn Fernandez and that broken right hand. DeWalt was intercepted only 12 times all of last season. Jenkins again. And this time the Argonaut defense is there to stop him for a loss on the play. Don Moen, number 36, the outside linebacker, getting to Keevan Jenkins.
Well, big Brian Ellerman, number 61, your right offensive tackle, who has some great maneuverability, just couldn't find anybody to block. Look, he tried to lead around the left side and did not pick up anybody. Well, we got to start her up. We'll go back to live action.
They got it back to the line of scrimmage. 2nd down and 10. DeWalt dumping it off again to Keevan Jenkins to midfield. He'll be short of the first down by 2 or 3 yards. Again, Don Moen was there along with David Marshall, a pair of linebackers, teaming up on Jenkins. So the offensive unit leaves the field, and we'll have Oz Baldiston in the punt for the 2nd time in the opening quarter.
Roy Shevers on your left side there, the specialty team coach of the BC Lions, and they do a good job at it. Baldiston just came up from junior football here with the Richmond Raiders.
Shanks this one. Bounces at the 30-yard line, back towards the line of scrimmage. And it was Dennis Clay, number 14, going high in the air, thinking a basketball-type play, and it's a 25-yard punt. And it's 3-0 Toronto. We'll be back in just a moment.
Only at the brick. Get it before it's gone.
Here's the end of that punt by Osbaldiston that bounced back towards the BC line of scrimmage, and the youngster's reaction to a bad kick, his 2nd punt of the ball game.
Well, better now than sometime in a really critical part of the ball game.
3 minutes, 45 seconds remaining in the first quarter. The Argonauts with the ball at their own 28-yard line. They have the lead, 3-0. Norman Gibbs with a pretty good first quarter here for Toronto. In place of the injured Coleridge Holloway. Gibbs nicely gets away from James Parker and then finds Paul Pearson open. And he attracts half a dozen BC Lions, and Pearson's out to the 35-yard line for a gain of 8.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that Gibbs is doing for himself. With that ability to avoid the tackle, particularly against a guy like James Parker, he's going to slow that rush down himself, because Parker's going to want to come in there under a lot more control. He's come in there a couple of times, looked like he had a sack, and Gibbs just made that quick move, got out of his way. Good feet.
That's for sure. Gain of 7, actually. 2nd down and 3 from the 35-yard line. Gibbs going deep, looking for Craig Ellis. We have a penalty marker in the offensive backfield. The quarterback is on the turf. Chances are there'll be a rough play call against the defense.
What it is, it's going to be roughing the passer. You just cannot make contact with that passer after the ball is gone. Cruz, the middle linebacker, trying to go deep to the outside. The ball well overthrown, but the penalty will give the Argonauts a first down.
Pretty good job by Tyrone Cruz running all the way upfield with Craig Ellis.
Well, he's one of those guys, you know, is always an unsung hero. Everybody's going to cut him every spring training camp. And as you can see, he's been around 7 years and generally is among the leaders in tackles on this ball club.
Well, you should mention that when we were here for the preseason game when Calgary was here, we were talking how the rumors were around then that Cruz was going to be gone again.
They always are in June.
Craig Ellis on the draw. Good ball. The Lions have got it. Larry Crawford. His 2nd fumble recovery of the season. Rick Klassen made the hit on Ellis and forced the ball loose.
Well, I think he was holding the ball properly. He just got that arm pulled away from him just at the last moment. In fact, I think Klassen's left hand even hit the football away from him. First turnover of the ball game goes the BC Lions' way.
First down for the Lions at their own 54-yard line. Fumble recovery by Larry Crawford. John Henry White. Brad Wojtek, the newcomer out of Florida State, number 64, was there to put the hit on White after a gain of close to 3. It'll be second down and 7. The ball now at the Toronto 53-yard line. And we have some problems with the turf. Now, we should mention that neither one of these teams was able to practice here yesterday because they had a car show indoors here, and they hadn't got the turf back down on the concrete. And now we see that one of the seams has come completely loose.
That was, by the way, a national antique car show. But let's go down to Al McCann.
Well, thank you, Frank. Everybody in Canada talking about this man, Mervyn Fernandez, who had the misfortune of having that hand injury in Edmonton. Merv, show us exactly what happened. Where did the bone break?
Well, it broke on the outside of the hand right here and split in between these two fingers here, between the baby fingers, 6 stitches in there. And it's going to take about 5 weeks for the bone to heal.
Then you'll probably have to play with it taped up for a while, too, eh?
No, not really. It should be 100% after that because it's just be resting all that time.
Get back soon, Merv.
Yeah.
Back to the live action. The pass from DeWalt for Ned Armour goes incomplete. Marcellus Green, number 21, the corner, providing the coverage for Toronto, and that'll bring up a 3rd down. And the Lions unable to move the football after the fumble recovery by Crawford. They'll have to punt it away again. Minute and a half left in the opening quarter. Toronto's defense continuing to play tough. They dominated last week in Montreal against the Alouettes. And they have not given up anything here in the first quarter to BC. Osbaldiston, much better kick. Puts this one right to the 1-yard line. Chris Woods on the return. He gets a couple of blocks. He could be around the corner. Chris Woods. John Ulmer saves a touchdown at the 35-yard line. What a run back by Chris Woods, and that's why the Argonauts got him. For his big speed as a wide receiver and his tremendous return abilities. This one's 74 yards.
Still, if there's one thing that's featured the BC Lions, who have finished first in the Western Division the last 3 years, it's been their outstanding kicking game. Both kicking the football and covering. That has not been the case this year. They have not returned the ball well, and they're getting balls run back against them. As a matter of fact, that's why they're missing Lucas Saglia and Merv Fernandez, the last guy having to make the tackle. 2 very important people gone because poor kick coverage.
52-yard punt is returned 74 yards by that man, Chris Woods. The Argonauts, first down, they call the reverse. This is Jeff Townsend, number 30, who very seldom gets to touch the football for the Argonauts, and he'll be stopped for a bit of a loss on the play, or he might have got back just to the line of scrimmage, and that's about all. There's Mel Bird moving up from that halfback spot. He read the play all the way. It'll be second down and 10 from the 35. Receivers shuttling the plays in to the young Norman Gibbs.
Here they come.
Big pressure from Bird. Then Parker. The ball is thrown and batted down by Glenn Jackson, although he was in the grasp and being hauled down by James Parker.
Now that's good pressure. Your initial pressure by Bird, number 10, and Parker's hanging all over you, and then they finally get Glenn Jackson to knock the football down. 3 of them in there in the play. And they brought everybody.
That'll go as an incomplete pass, and Walter Ballard shaken up in the play. James Parker.
I've never really heard.
Doesn't have a sack.
I've never really heard a good explanation of that feather in his helmet either.
Neither have I. No.
Some sort of luck charm. If you remember the great linebacker the Lions had a few years ago, Ray Nettles, he started that here at BC for some reason.
You're looking at David Bates, who is officially listed as the backup quarterback tonight. Holloway is in uniform, but not expected to play. Bates, of course, the rookie out of Texas Arlington, the same school that Roy DeWalt went to, and he broke a lot of school records that Roy DeWalt had established. You see Ballard leaving the playing field. Former Argonaut, came to the BC Lions in February, along with Jan Carinci, in the deal for Nick Hebler and Kerry Parker. Interestingly enough, the two players that came from Toronto to BC are playing. The two players that went from BC to Toronto are not. Hebler, of course, no longer with the Argos, is now in Saskatchewan. Here's a 42-yard field goal attempt by Lance Chomuk. It is good. He's 2 for 2 tonight, 7 for 7 on the season, and he gives the Toronto Argonauts a 6-0 lead on the last play of the opening quarter. Good defense and a fine job by Norman Gibbs so far, and a great run back by Chris Woods. The Argos lead it. We'll be back in just a moment. Second quarter just underway. DeWalt completes it to Jim Sandusky, and he makes his first catch of 1986 after picking up over 1,000 yards in pass receptions last year for the BC Lions.
Well, the Lions jammed it up well because the Argonauts were in a full blitz there, and Roy DeWalt had a lot of time to throw the football.
Carl Breesley, number 2, making the stop. There's Walter Ballard, shaken up a few moments ago. He's all right. Just took a poke on the nose. He'll be back when the defense takes the field again. First down for the Lions near midfield. Kevan Jenkins into the middle and diving in there to make the tackle. Marlon Jones, number 90, from the defensive end spot in his first CFL season out of Central State in Ohio. Marlon Jones, number 90, 6'4", 240.
You know, Dale, other than team speed, Bobo Vilovich thought his best improvement so far in 1986 is defensively, because they've got 2 or 3 rookies that have done a fine job. Marlon Jones being one of them.
The Argos still have not allowed a point scored against them in the first quarter this year. The give to Kevan Jenkins, and he's going to be stopped short of the first down. Getting in there, Brad Poitek, number 64, along with his defensive teammate, Mark Seal, number 76.
Dale, if they haven't allowed any points scored in the first quarter, they've also done something that no other football team's done in the BC place. They scored 22 points in 1 quarter against the BC Lions here last year. That happened to be the 4th quarter, too. And so the Lions better get going.
That's right. Bobo Vilovich. Interestingly enough, Conrad Holloway hasn't played against the BC Lions since 1984. He was injured and missed both games last year, and of course he's in uniform tonight but not expected to play because of a knee injury. Hunt files Balderson, bounces to Chris Woods, and he is caught this time for absolutely no return on the play. Paul Nastasiuk, number 36, downfield to stop Woods at the 4-yard line. You take a look at the first quarter statistics. After a 43-yard punt, and the return that time, -1. 58 net yards, 40 yards for BC. Of course, what you don't see there is the 74-yard punt return by Chris Woods. Big difference, setting up that second field goal by Chomuk. 6-0, the Argos lead it. Played 2 minutes of the second quarter.
Great tackle to set up terrible field position for the Argonauts. And here's where the young quarterback's going to be tested. First down on his own 4-yard line.
This is the worst start for the Argos since they got possession tonight. Greg Ellis to the 9-yard line. So he picks up 5 on first down. Crawford got in there to make the stop on him.
You know, usually ball clubs in this situation will normally block straight ahead. They won't pull people. But watch Dan Ferroni. He comes to the right side, gets up through that hole, and does a fine job of creating enough of a hole that the gain is going to be about 5 yards. Ferroni, number 69, 6-year veteran of the Canadian Football League.
Hearing the signals, and a good job by Gibbs and Ellis. They combine to pick up what looks to be a first down near the 15-yard line. Again, Cruz having to provide the coverage on Craig Ellis as he comes out of that Toronto backfield.
Well, you want to mix up your defensive coverages against a young quarterback who's going to obviously have some problems recognizing those defensive sets, but you don't want to leave a middle linebacker on Craig Ellis very long, or you're going to get hurt.
That middle linebacker is going to get worn out in a hurry. Especially if they send Ellis on any of those deep sideline patterns many more times here in the first half. Gibbs mishandled the snap, got it back real quick, but now he's in trouble back to the 5-yard line.
Rick Klassen and James Parker. For
a loss of 9.
He did a pretty good job of picking the ball up very quickly, but it cost him a couple of seconds, so the loss is just about 9 yards.
Second down and 19 now for the Argonauts at their own 6-yard line. You see with the edge in sacks this year over the Argonauts. Call the draw to Craig Ellis. A little bit of hesitation, then picks his way out near the 15-yard line, which was the original line of scrimmage. So he gets 9 back. Bruce Barnett making the tackle, number 12. So the Argonauts are looking at third down and almost a little better than 10 yards to go and a punting situation. But Norman Gibbs has performed admirably here in the first half. There's a Winnipeg connection, of course, now. Gibbs, the former Bomber, and he was released this year, and the Argos just picked him up in a trade for futures on June 23rd. But, of course, Artis Celta is now an offensive coach with the Argonauts, and he's former assistant coach with the Bombers.
Ellis Rainberger as well. Bill used to be with the Bombers, assistant now with Toronto.
Darnell Clash on the return. Yeah, they're going to bring. Oh, he got a tremendous block and turned the corner, but they're going to be bringing this one back. Wow. Did Larry Crawford lay a block? A 49-yard punt that time after Hank Olisic had to haul down the high snap. So with 10:23 left to go in the second quarter, we'll be right back.
Well, the thing that the BC Lions have been looking for and haven't gotten so far in '86, the big punt return by Darnell Clash. He's averaged only 7 yards a return this year, far underneath the 1985 average, but hauled back because of a clip.
First down Lions from their own 37. The draw play to Keevan Jenkins. Big hole up the middle, all the way to the 50-yard line. Willie Pless got back there and helped out Dennis Clay on the tackle, but a huge hole.
Great block by John Henry White coming up there, the other bogey back, and he was blocking on the youngster we talked about so much, Willie Pless, number 32. That's the longest gain on the ground so far in '86 for the BC Lions.
13 yards. Here's DeWalt. Looking for Ned Armour. Picked off by Carl Graisley, his third interception of the season. Look at this return now. We have a penalty flag down again. Graisley all the way back to the BC 42-yard line, but they're going to bring the return back. The Argos will have the ball. Keevan Jenkins made the tackle. Graisley returns at 51 yards. But it's called back.
The ball is overthrown by Roy DeWall as they get a little pressure on him. Ned Armour, the intended receiver. I did not see who the infraction was called against. Graisley with his 18th interception as a Toronto Argonaut and 24th in his CFL career. Does a lot of running for nothing.
Illegal block. Toronto number 36. First down.
Don Moan with the illegal block after the interception by Graisley. His third of the season. So that puts the ball at the Toronto 23-yard line. Wipes out a big return by Graisley, but at least they do have the football. First down Argos. They lead at 6-0 here in the second quarter. Quickly to Chris Woods. One-on-one. Gets a block from Clash. Caught from behind by Walter Ballard, number 78, the big defensive end. Mike Gray was there as well.
Jeff Arp getting out there very quickly, number 56. 6'3", 245 pounds, and he's hitting Darnell Clash, who's about 170, they list, and I don't think he's that big.
He's going to have a measurement here at the 33-yard line.
I'm sure Don Matthews somewhat concerned about the performance so far of his offensive ball club, who did not have a good day against the Eskimos. Of course, nobody did against the Eskimos last week. It will be a first down for the Argonauts at their own 33-yard line. We have 8:57 remaining now in this first half. The Argonauts lead by 6.
Jeff Townsend, number 30, in there, as Norman Gibbs has 5 receivers out there. And he completes this one to Ken Joyner. And Joyner is to the 35-yard line, tackled by Mel Bird. Joyner was the man, of course, who broke through and blocked that Montreal punt in the end zone last week, which Darrell Wilson recovered for a Toronto touchdown. Joyner, his first year out of Kentucky State. First catch of the night from Norman Gibbs. Chris Woods back in again now, and Townsend is out. Toronto with the edge in first down, 7-4. They lead it 6-0. 8 minutes to go, second quarter. Gibbs. First down, Toronto, stopped by Andre Jones at the Toronto 52-yard line.
Well, the Argonauts just did a great job of picking up the stunning defensive line of the BC Lions. Watch Walter Ballard. If we start it up right now, you'll see number 78. Stop it right there. You'll see Walter Ballard coming out. They're trying to drive the people to the right side, and Ballard come up the middle. Watch what a good job the Argonauts do of picking up the shooting defensive end, number 78. Give the young quarterback time to throw the football, but if he can't, he'll take off with it.
17-yard game with 7:52 left, second quarter. It's Toronto 6 and BC nothing. We'll be back in just a moment. We're going to see now a perfect example of why the Canadian Football League said teams will carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Coming into this one, Holloway was injured. Norman Gibbs, the starter, number 9, takes off for a 17-yard gain here, and then is leveled by Andre Jones, and Gibbs is injured. So now that brings young David Bates into the football game, number 16, as you see Gibbs leaving. Holloway, of course, in uniform, but really he's not healthy enough to play. So it's almost a disaster situation at quarterback. Let's go to Al.
Well, Dale, speaking of injuries, the BC Lions missing their number 1 kicker, of course, Louis Pasaglia. Louis, I know you're troubled by an abdominal muscle pull that you got tackling, the same as Mervyn got hurt tackling.
Yeah, I missed the guy, and I felt something pop, and I hurt my groin and my stomach muscle at the same time, and it's taken quite a while to heal.
When do you expect to be back?
I'm going to try for next week, but I think it's probably 2 weeks away still.
Good luck, Louis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. First down for the Argonauts at their own 51-yard line, and Ellis, the ball carrier, is tackled by Walter Ballard, but Ellis picks up 5 yards on the play. He's moved it into BC territory to the 53-yard line. And there is young David Bates, the University of Texas at Arlington, the same school that Roy DeWalt went to. He signed in April of this year, following his junior year, as because football has been discontinued at Texas Arlington. Second down. Oh, penalty against Darnell Clash. He came over the top of Chris Woods, no question about it. 3 flags thrown that time.
Flags all over the place. Well, I hope that injury to Gibbs is not anything serious. The team doctor's over there talking to him, because the kid had a great quarter and a half. Bates is a quarterback of the same mold in the sense that he can move around extremely well back there, but absolutely no experience professionally. And of course, the injured Holloway is the last backup. Gibbs up on his feet now at the Toronto bench, so maybe we'll see more of it.
Penalty for interference against Clash gives the Argos a first down at the BC 39-yard line. David Bates at quarterback. Halfback blitz. Bates gets away from it and goes looking for 6. Woods is in the end zone. The ball is thrown short. Clash almost had an interception and should have at the goal line.
I'll tell you, Chris Woods was wide open behind the defensive backs of the BC Lions. Crawford, of course, coming in there initially, and Bates just did not throw the ball deep enough.
I think he hurried himself. He had a lot more time than he thought he had.
That's true. After he got around Crawford, there was absolutely nobody putting pressure on him. Clash should have picked up the interception at the goal line, but did not do so.
Young David Bates moves very well. He broke every school single-season passing record last year at Texas Arlington. Now he's looking at 2nd and 10. Here comes Andre Jones on the safety blitz, and they get to him. Boy, they're going to throw a lot of looks at a young quarterback.
Well, you know, I thought they'd do that starting this ball game out because Gibbs doesn't have that much experience either, but obviously they're going to come after Bates. Bates, no pro experience at all. really having a tough time. You know, you get in there and you see all the different defenses a Canadian Football League team will play. It's hard enough just getting back to remembering the plays and looking for your receivers and trying to read those defenses.
So Hank Lissick is out there to punt. Norman Gibbs being attended to by therapist Freddie Dunbar at the Argonaut bench. Clash awaiting the punt from Lissick. Going to let this one sail into the end zone and give up a single point. 52-yard single now for the Argos. Hank Lissick makes it a 7-0 ball game in favor of Toronto. We'll be back in just a moment. Paul is not happy on the far side of the field, which is where the BC Lion bench is located. Toronto leading this ball game 7-0. As I mentioned at the top of the show, they have the best record of any visiting team to play in the Dome. Right now, after the single by Lissick, it's first down Lions from their own 35-yard line. Van Jenkins, the handoff from DeWalt, has 2 or 3 yards.
Well, Dale, it only proves that just because you get blown away in a football game, and even the Grey Cup champions get blown away once in a while, and of course, the BC Lions did, and we hope that tomorrow night fans will get out and support the Saskatchewan Roughriders as they host the Edmonton Eskimos. They looked extremely confident against the Calgary Stampeders, had a bad one against Winnipeg. They can bounce back, I'm sure, just as quickly as the BC Lions can.
I'm sure you'll see a different Saskatchewan team tomorrow night. This time DeWalt dumps it over the middle to Jan Carinci, and he's wrapped immediately up by Don Moen, and DeWalt looking things over, saying, I don't know if I've really got this defense figured out yet. It's third down, and he's leaving the field. The punting unit comes back on.
It doesn't take long here at BC Place for the fans to get down on Ron DeWalt, and it's just amazing. All he's done is taken to 3 straight divisional championships, and they're the reigning Grey Cup champions.
The old saying, it's not what you've done for me before, it's what you're doing for me now. And Osbaldison's end-over-end kick comes down to Chris Woods. Straight up the field. Woods had a 74-yard return in the first quarter. There's a penalty marker down. John Ulmer making the stop. Woods a little slow in getting up there. He looks all right. Let's go to Al.
Well, Dale just checked with Freddie Dunbar, the amiable trainer of the Argonauts. He tells me that Norman Gibbs bruised his knee, but he definitely will be going back into the ball game very, very shortly. As you can see, he's up and mobile.
Yep, he's making his way back onto the playing field. Norman Gibbs returns at quarterback now for the Argonauts after missing about 3 plays. I don't think Bob Obilovich wants to see Norman Gibbs running the ball too much more tonight. Holloway already hurting. Gibbs shaken up once here in this ball game, having to be replaced by David Bates. Total offense so far, 135 to 84 in favor of the Argos, and it's a 7-0 lead in favor of Toronto. From the 47-yard line, the Argos first and 10. Gibbs in trouble. Klassen finishes him off after Walter Ballard had made him stop up at the 35-yard line. So the loss is 12 yards.
See Gibbs looking over to the sideline. Conrad Holloway, the 12-year veteran quarterback, trying to help these youngsters by recognizing defenses, sending in some offensive help from the sideline. You'll see Conrad's in the baseball hat right in the middle of the group there, and prior to every play, he's sending in the signal.
Second down, 11-yard loss, so it's 21 to go for the first. Here's Gibbs, wide open is Cox, and he's got it for a first down. Knocked out of bounds by Larry Crawford, but a big play for the Argonauts. Second and 21, and they come up with the first, a gain of 23.
You know, watch how confused the defensive line on the right side of the BC Lions. They both come in here, try to cross, and they almost block themselves. Absolutely no pressure on the young quarterback. They looked like they weren't sure exactly what stunt they were going to have. They ran into each other. That kind of helps an offensive lineman.
Sure does. Fox worked himself into the open for the first down at the BC 51. Greg Ellis, little misdirection play. He's got some blocking in front of him. Ellis has got another first down. He's inside the 40-yard line. Jackson, Barnett, and Clash team up to bring him down.
And two pulling in his 50th game, or 80th game, I should say, in the Canadian Football League. Makes an excellent block. Watch him come out, number 69. You're stopping right there. Keep your... block was on Glenn Jackson, number 37. With 3:01 remaining, the Toronto Argonauts lead the BC Lions by 7. We'll be back. The rest of the...
Once-in-a-lifetime shots, the Nikon One Touch. 11 totally automatic features, including flash. The simplest Nikon 35mm ever. Drop in the film, aim, and shoot. Get the Nikon One Touch.
Flash picked up a bit of an injury. Looks like that left leg of his is cramped up. He was one of 3 BC Lion tacklers on Craig Ellis just a few moments ago. Total first downs at this point, with 3 minutes left in the first half. Toronto 11, BC 4. The Argos have picked up 107 yards rushing. Ellis 47. And Gibbs has picked up 60 yards himself. And I don't think Don Matthews is pleased at all the way this first half has gone. Clash is now making his way slowly to the BC bench. You take a look at Norman Gibbs, an offensive unit. Townsend, number 30, is in there again. Chris Woods was on the bench and looks like he's going to be heading to the locker room. Chris Woods shaken up on that last punt return of his. And he may not see any more action here in the first half. First down for the Argos. The ball at the BC 39-yard line. Toronto leads it 7-0. A couple of field goals by Tomic and a single by Alyssa. Oh, somebody jumped offside. Glenn Jackson. Gibbs trying to get away from Ballard, but no dice this time. Walter Ballard, number 78, the former Argonaut, gets a sack on Norman Gibbs back near midfield.
Well, unless it's an illegal motion call or the young quarterback pulled him offside, veteran Glenn Jackson definitely jumped into that 1-yard zone. Looked like BC Lions offside to me.
That's what it is. So it'll be a 5-yard gain for the Argonauts.
Well, that's a big one.
Boy, is it ever.
That's about a 25-yard swing. And field position swing. They're at least in field goal range right now.
Absolutely. We didn't hear the call from referee Bud Ulrich, but it was offside against BC. Moves the ball to the Lions 34. First down over again and 5 yards to go. Craig Ellis to the 25-yard line and another first down for Toronto. Andre Jones, the safety, moving up to make the tackle, and nobody had touched Ellis till he got to the secondary.
Well, Dale, the guy that put the containment that time was Kevin Konar, and the BC Lions do not want to have to play him. You see Ellis's stats now, 56 yards in the first half. But Konar came in, as you mentioned earlier, without practicing all week long. He's had an injured back. Barnett's been in there most of the time.
Receiver and gets it inside the 15-yard line to Ken Joyner, number 80. Tyrone Cruz making the tackle. It looks like Parker is shaken up on the play, or maybe just tired.
Parker and Gibbs both. Watch the tremendous effort by Parker as he dove right at the final moment as Andre Jones missed it. Parker trying to knock the young quarterback off balance, does not quite make it. An excellent throw and first down at the 13-yard line of the BC Lions. Toronto threatening with 2:14 remaining in this first half.
Impressive first half for the Argonauts. Norman Gibbs looking for somebody open in the end zone. He goes to the short man, which is Ken Joyner, just inside the 10 to about the 8-yard line for a pickup of 5 on the play. Keith Gooch providing the coverage on Ken Joyner. Gibbs looking towards the bench after every play, getting the signals as David Bates is now relaying the signals into him. Total team effort here tonight for the Argonauts. Bates has already seen some action when Gibbs went down for a few plays with an injury.
How about that young guy, 11 of 13, and he's running the football as well very effectively.
He's completed 6 in a row. It's second down now from the 8-yard line. Open is Ellis. Oh, he stepped out of bounds at the 1-yard line. He didn't get the touchdown at this time, but he does have a first down. First and goal at the 1.
Boy, fine throw, too, wasn't it? Absolutely be defended against. Watch Ellis crossing behind Paul Pearson. Bit of a pick play, but it wasn't called. Great throw. Right on the money. Young guys had a great first 30 minutes.
Ellis trying to dive just inside that end zone marker, but his foot had touched the line at the 1.
Nothing fancy here. You got 3 shots at it.
Power guys are in there now. Rodney Harding for 1 brought in for the added blocking up front on 1st and goal. Ellis, touchdown. There's a penalty marker at the line. Ellis does put the ball in the end zone.
Big Bob Brock, 225 pounds of him, leads him in there.
It is a
number
touchdown.
34. Watch it. He's at the top of your screen.
Offside BC, touchdown Toronto.
That's what you want. That's Andre Jones, the defensive back, and Brock's going to blow him back in the end zone.
Craig Ellis picks up his 2nd touchdown of the season for Toronto.
Great drive by the Argonauts, assisted somewhat by that offside call against Glenn Jackson when Ballard came up with the big sack. The Argonauts more impressive offensively by quite a margin than the BC Lions.
This place really brings out the best in the Argonauts. Lance Chomick to convert the touchdown by Ellis out of the hold by David Bates. It is 14-0. Toronto leading BC. 1:51 left to go in the first half. A 63-yard drive in 8 plays. Ellis getting the touchdown, and of course the key part was the penalty against Glenn Jackson for going offside. Of course, the Argos take the advantage and put it in the end zone. Tomorrow night on the full CTV network, you will see the red-hot Winnipeg Blue Bombers against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That is a 7:30 start at Ivor Wynn. That is 6:30 Manitoba time tomorrow night on the full CTV network. There's also the other game tomorrow night, which has Edmonton playing at Saskatchewan.
Well, Dale just checked on Darnell Clash, who was injured a little earlier. He is not in on this run back, but the report is it's only a slight sprain. It's been retaped, and he will be back in the ball game, perhaps in the 3rd quarter.
You're looking at Ned Armour, who is replacing Clash as one of those returners. Evan Jenkins back there as well, number 23. Lions are going to have less than 2 minutes, as you can see, to try and do something offensively.
Talking about Clash, he set a record with 111 punt returns last year. That's a league record. At the pace he had set in the first 2 games this year, he would break that easily in 1986. He had 15 returns coming into tonight's game.
I'll tell you what, he wouldn't be setting any yardage records though this year. He's averaged 7 yards a return, as I mentioned earlier. Chris Woods was over 13 coming into the ballgame.
From the 6-yard line, Ned Armour. Pretty quick guy himself, and he is drilled at about the 26-yard line by Marlon Jones, number 90, the defensive end. The return is 20 yards. Good downfield tackle by Marlon Jones. Central State in Ohio.
He looked like that young linebacker Woodson of the Calgary Stampeders last night on those specialty teams. He was down there making some shots with him.
He had himself a game. The entire Stampeder team looked good last night. Look forward to seeing them next Friday when we're in McMahon Stadium. They play the Tiger Cats.
You know, the only success DeWalt has had against the Argonauts so far this evening is over the middle. He has not been able to hit his outside people.
21-yard gain. 1st and 10 for the Lions out at their own 42. Minute 40 left, 2nd quarter. John Henry White stepping out of bounds in front of Carl Brazeley. The pass from DeWalt at the 46-yard line. Gain of 4.
Mike Gray, rookie of the year last year in the Canadian Football League. Missed some early season action, but happy to be back in there. He had 1 sack in each game against the Argonauts last year.
Down the middle. Trying to get to Princey again. It may have been touched by Dan Rasevich, who's into the ball game defensively, as David Marshall is out of there, one of the linebackers for Toronto. Goes incomplete. 3rd down.
That 7-11 stat is a bit misleading because they haven't been able to convert those 2nd down plays. Balderson now back to kick once again, and he's been a bit inconsistent. 1 boomer and 1 bad one.
Short kick. out of it. This is Joyner on the return because Woods has gone to the locker room. Ball pops loose, but the play was already dead. Joyner gets it across the 35-yard line. Kevin Konar was in on the tackle along with Bruce Barnett and Andre Jones. They're all there. First down for the Argos. The ball at their own 37. 1:21 left to go here in the second quarter. 14-0. The Argonauts leading the Lions. Mel Bird now lines up on the corner. Flashes out of the ball game. Nelson Martin is in as a defensive halfback.
Oh, big hole.
Ellis slips through there to the 40. Konar makes the tackle to 41. Pick up of 4, second down and 6. So both teams having to substitute on a number of occasions here in the opening half. A hard-hitting football game. A lot of players have gone down.
Interesting to see what they do here, Dale. If they try to go downfield with it, pick up at least a single point to put them more than 2 converted touchdowns ahead. With 1:07 remaining now in the first half. Second and 6.
Big trouble. He was looking left all the way. There was nothing there, and the rush got to him before he could look elsewhere. Big loss. Rick Klassen leading the charge.
You're going to see a timeout now by the BC Lions. Ty Cruz, their defensive captain, trying to get the officials' attention.
Klassen a little slow getting up. Lions with 4 sacks. Could have had more in the first half, but Gibbs has done a pretty good job. And Bates, when he was in there, did a pretty good job of evading the rush.
True, if you had just a drop-back quarterback, they'd have had 6 or 7 anyway. Bobby O, or OB as he's affectionately called, very pleased, I'm sure, with the first 29 minutes at least.
Frank, Gibbs is having problems again with that knee. As you can see,
Al, it looked like he hurt it again when James Parker got him from behind a little bit.
I think you're right, Frank.
Well, they need a big one from Hank Alisic right now. You see the young quarterback going down against hard-charging defensive line now. Mike Gray and Klassen in there to share that sack. I'll tell you, this BC Lion Football Club is an explosive offensive team, but without Merv Fernandez, it's here not quite as explosive. I really think he's probably the most significant offensive player in the Canadian Football League this year and for the last few years.
He's as good as I've ever seen, Frank, at what he does, but I'll tell you, they miss Louis Pasaglia, too.
And, of course, Clash is not out there, so it'll be Ned Armour for this punt return. Line drive type of kick to the far side. Armour tracking it down at the 30. Armour to the 33-yard line. 50-yard punt and a 5-yard return. Don Moen, number 36, made the tackle.
Not a typical Hank Alisic kick. It was a live drive, and he had a chance to get down there and cover it. Lions will have 46 seconds now to work with the football.
David Marshall, the linebacker for the Argos, still out of the ball game. Dan Rasevich is in. The wall. Didn't find anybody open downfield and just dumped it off to Keevan Jenkins, and he got to the 35 where he was stopped by Darrell Wilson. Good tackle. Gain of only a couple. Second down and 8. Henry White with a flag now. White stopped at the 40-yard line by Don Moen. Now the penalty marker was thrown away upfield, a long way from the play.
I don't think that really had any effect on the play. It looked like John Pankratz who was involved downfield, but
Looks like a holding call against the Argos.
pick up the number, but I think it was Carl Brazeley that was called again.
This is going to give BC a first down.
BC had not picked up the first down with that reception.
Here's the call.
Listen.
32.
sack by the Argos tonight. And that pushes the Lions all the way back to their own 38-yard line.
Well, Roy had time to throw the football. They just had everybody covered. Beating Big John Blaine to the inside. Rookie out of Central State in Ohio, Marlon Jones.
So it is now 2nd and 17. Clock running, 17 seconds left. DeWalt down the middle, net armor, first down, and we have a penalty marker.
That's going to be a late hit on the quarterback.
Looks like Rodney Harding will be called for rough play. They're going to get more yardage out of this one.
That's really a poor play with just 8 seconds remaining on the clock, or 11 seconds, I should say. The Lions are going to get right down there where they can at least attempt a field goal.
Was 2nd and 17. Armour picked up 19. Plus they're going to pick up another 15 yards here on the rough play call. The 38-yard line of Toronto.
A rookie mistake.
Roughing the passer. Toronto, first down.
It was 90.
There to stop him immediately. The gain will be about 5 yards to the 33, and with 5 seconds left, the field goal unit comes on. Difference in the penalties here so far in this ball game.
Balderson has hit 3 out of 6 so far this year. His longest would be 36 yards. This one will come from the 40.
Balderson is 0 for 2 from 40 yards or over this year. It is good. So he comes through when the Lions really need it. And the gun sounds to end the first half. The last play, the Lions get on the board. The score, Toronto 14 and BC 3.
And we want to have you stay with us for our halftime show. Dan Matheson will be around with the CFL this week. Highlights of that Calgary-Ottawa game last night. We'll have the Pacific Western Stars of the Week and a profile on the big offensive tackle of the Edmonton Eskimos, Rudy Phillips. Don't forget, of course, our CTV News update and hopefully first half highlights. This is the CFL on CTV, our halftime show in just...
O'Keefe Sports, the CFL this week. Everybody in the Canadian Football League has already played at least 2 games. Ottawa and Calgary have 3 under their respective belts because they met last night, the Riders and Stampeders, in the nation's capital.
At the outset, it looked like a mismatch. The Riders had only given up 13 points in 2 games, but this was a night when young Rick Johnson could do no wrong. And he gets the scoring underway in the second quarter, a 14-yard touchdown toss to Ray Alexander. J.C. Watts brings the Riders back with a touchdown strike of his own, 11 yards, and rookie Reggie Butts makes a spectacular diving catch. Johnson finds the open man again. We are still in the second quarter. Emmanuel Tolbert this time is wide open. He runs under the ball and converts the pass into a 43-yard touchdown, 21-7 Calgary at the half. Another man with an outstanding performance was running back Gary Allen, 114 yards. He makes his presence felt as a receiver, too. Third quarter, Johnson gets the ball outside to Allen, a 29-yard touchdown. The Calgary Stampeders beat the Riders 31-15. In other football news, the National Football League has a brand new drug plan. But CFL Commissioner Doug Mitchell does not agree with his NFL counterpart, Pete Rozelle.
We won't accept it under any circumstances. They have brought up a new program that accepts rehabilitation. We don't. Any drug use, any charges with respect to drug use will result in immediate dismissal in the Canadian Football League. What I'm saying, I think, is to the extent that they've had the problem, we haven't had the problem. And I think that if you do have a major problem with drugs, it obviously is going to come to the surface from time to time. But we haven't had the indications that they've had. We certainly don't see it to the major degree that they do. But I think what people forget is that the use of drugs is a criminal offense. And if it arises in our league and the players know about it, it's going to result in immediate dismissal. This program where you condone it on an ongoing basis and then ultimately leads to dismissal, I personally don't think works.
another CFL game you can watch here on CTV tomorrow night. A couple of heavyweights get together in Hamilton's Ivor Wynne. The Tiger Cats play host to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Elsewhere in the Canadian Football League, later tomorrow, Edmonton is at Saskatchewan. And next week's CTV Friday Nighter, the Tiger Cats again, this time on the road in Calgary's McMahon Stadium to take on the Stampeders. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. Halftime continues in a moment.
Western Airlines recognizes the CFL's most outstanding performers in the offensive, defensive, and lineman category with Stars of the Week honors. Emerging from Week 2's action as the defensive star is Ottawa's Darryl Nicholson. His inspired play proved instrumental in a tough divisional win over Hamilton. Offensive Star of the Week went to Edmonton quarterback Matt Gunnigan. He piloted the high-flying Eskimos to an impressive 36-13 victory over the defending Grey Cup champions, the BC Lions. Tonight, CTV profiles lineman star Rudy Phillips and friends.
Rudy, oh, the new guy. Yeah, he's one of the best 18 tackles in the league. Well, if I might borrow a quote from the late, great Tom Krebs, Berkey said that of all the players in the CFL that I've ever seen, Rudy Phillips is one of them.
Rudy's 2 Shanley Awards as the CFL's most outstanding lineman while with Ottawa attests to his significant talent. And despite not playing football last year, he's brought all that talent to the Eskimos.
Yeah, I'm fairly well pleased. I had a good camp and, really looking forward to the season now. I know it's early, but we did make a good start and just proud of it right now.
I think he's fit in really well. He's a real professional. He knows how to prepare himself mentally and physically. After you lose a guy like Bill Stevenson, who's been with us for such a long time, and that kind of injury really could have devastated us, but it took us about a game to get used to him, and Leo Blanchard's been playing alongside of him, and it's really been no problem at all. What we tried to do is we tried to keep the backs off of James Parker, and that meant our tackles had to block James Parker by themselves. Rudy did an outstanding job, as did Hector Pache, and we tried to give James a couple different looks, make it look like it was sprint out and really drop back, and that really helped us.
Playing tackle, I'm out on the island by myself, and you really man-to-man, and you have to do the best you can out there on that island by yourself.
His play is key to my success and the backfield success. If Rudy's having a good game, he's making things happen for us, open up holes, giving the quarterback time, whether it be whoever's back there at the helm. He's giving us time, and he's a super athlete. And like I said, he's a great person. I think that's what the Eskimos recruit here is good people along with good athletes.
He reminds me a lot of a quarterback I blocked for out in Ottawa named J.C. Watts. It makes your job easier when the quarterback can get outside of those big guys rushing upfield and give you a little break sometimes. So it makes the job of offensive lineman, when you have a quarterback who is mobile, it makes your job a lot easier.
This Stars of the Week profile on the newest member of Edmonton's dominating offensive line is brought to you by Pacific Western Airlines, serving over 40 Canadian destinations. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
Under the dome at BC Place, we are at halftime, the BC Lions and the Toronto Argonauts. Time now for CTV's new feature this season, Ask the Commissioner, where you, the fan, get to put a question to Doug Mitchell. Tonight's comes from Eddie Gebrin of Edmonton, Alberta. He wants to know what advantage it is to the CFL Western teams. He wants to get into the playoffs with his Eskimos. What's the advantage under the new playoff structure?
Well, Dan, if a fourth-place finisher in the Western Division finishes ahead in points of the third-place finisher in the Eastern Division, then the Western playoffs would have 4 teams in them. The Eastern playoffs would have 2 teams in them.
Of course, the advantage to this new system is that better teams do get into the playoffs, but you still retain that age-old CFL tradition of East against West.
I think very much so. It's a very equitable playoff system. Now everybody has an equal chance of making the playoffs, whether they're in the Eastern Division or the Western Division.
Of course, you Eskimo fans may be happy this year, or you may not. It may be the Alouette fans or the Tiger Cat fans who are a little happier this season. Here's the address if you wish to ask the Commissioner.
All right, if you're just joining us, we'll take a look at the first half statistics. First downs, Toronto with the big edge, and net yardage, Toronto with 188 to 129. Both teams have turned the ball over once, but of course the Toronto Argonauts have put some points on the board. They lead the BC Lions 14-3 as we get set to start this third quarter. One of the big highlights of that first half, a punt by Osbaldiston that backed up Chris Woods to the 1-yard line, but then watch this return, 74 yards.
Dale, it wasn't just this play, but I think the Argonauts have worked a big advantage in the kicking game against the Lions. The Lions have not been effective in covering the kicks. This is the best example, but there were several others who were very important to field position.
It was John Ulmer who got back there to save a touchdown by Chris Woods. So now it'll be the Argos to kick off to get this third quarter underway, and Toronto in front by 11 points, and the Lions only got their 3 points on a field goal by Osbaldiston on the last play of the second quarter. So it has been a great night so far for the Argonauts. Ontario Day at Expo. Toronto Argonauts would love to complete it with a win here tonight. The kickoff. Bouncing down to Keevan Jenkins at his own 8-yard line. Jenkins brings it out across the 20 up near the 25-yard line. Plus in on the tackle along with Prunster and Hudson. A 17-yard return. Dennis Clay, or make that Darrell Wilson, number 13, was also in on the tackle against Keevan Jenkins. 24-yard line is where the BC Lions will start first and 10 as we're just underway here in the third quarter. David Marshall, defensively for the Argos, is still out of the ball game. Dan Rasevich is in there. Marshall was leveled with a solid block on a punt return by Larry Crawford. DeWalt looking for Pankratz, who wasn't even expecting the football, but he makes the catch, stays in bounds. First down out of the 54-yard line. So a big play for the Lions to open up the second half. Dennis Clay with the stop, but it's a 30-yard gain.
Bill, I think you're exactly right. I don't think John was expecting the football. I think he was probably the second or third choice as a receiver for Roy DeWalt. The first catch for Pankratz in this football game, and he moves it up to the 54-yard line.
Almost looked like John had totally given up on the play, and then all of a sudden he noticed the ball was coming to him. Here's Jenkins on first down, gets to the Toronto 50-yard line for a pickup of 6 yards. Willie Pless, the linebacker, there to make the stop on him. It'll be second down and 4 for Roy DeWalt and the Lions. Something they weren't able to do in the first half at all is really move the football, except in the last few seconds there, and they got in a position for a field goal. Toronto's defense playing very tough. Second down and 4. DeWalt into the middle. That's been there all night. This time, he completes the pass to Pankratz for what appears to be a first down. Don Moen making the tackle.
Well, the Lions' most impressive offensive drive so far in this ball game by far, as we're just in to the second half of this game. The Argonauts leading 14-3.
DeWalt waiting for Sandusky to work his way back towards the quarterback in front of Marcellus Green. He makes the catch at the 30-yard line. It's another first down, BC.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a throw, too.
Yeah.
DeWalt has looked very impressive when he throws it over the middle.
Whatever adjustments they made at halftime have certainly benefited them to start this third quarter. He's now completed 6 in a row, going back to the tail end of the second quarter. Calls the draw play to Keevan Jenkins, and there to snuff it off is Rodney Harding, number 77, from that defensive end spot. To be very little gain on the play, if any.
So Fertitta does not spend much time working on their running game. The Lions are just as well off throwing it virtually every play. Obviously, that draw play trying to complement the passing game.
Second down and 10. The Lions, of course, a big play offense. Looking for a big one here. DeWalt down the middle. Armour over the top. Touchdown. What a play by Armour.
It looked like Dennis Clay and Jerry Nash back there, 14 and 18, and neither of the defensive backs turned around and knew the football was coming.
That's exactly it.
You know, where the fault lies there, Dale, is the other defensive backs have to tell those people the ball's in the air. They could have turned around and knocked that down.
Anybody that's ever been to a football practice hears time and time and again, ball, 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 being yelled by defensive backs. And that's what that is for, to let the other defenders know that the ball is in the air. And you see the conversion on the touchdown, and all of a a sudden we have a brand new football game. It is Toronto 14 and BC 10. We'll be back with more third quarter in just a moment. All right, Paul Osbaldiston has the ball teed up at his own 35-yard line. The Lions have just scored a 30-yard touchdown to close the gap to 14-10. DeWalt to Ned Armour. Right over the top of safety Jerry Nash. And here's the kickoff. Craig Ellis on the return from his 10-yard line. Picking his way out across the 40-yard line. Good run back by Craig Ellis, and Darnell Clash, who's returned to action, in on the tackle along with Tyrone Cruz. The return, 32 yards. Craig Ellis, of course, premier kickoff returner in the CFL 2 seasons ago with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Traded to Toronto just before the regular season began. This is his second game in uniform. David Bates at quarterback now for Toronto. Norman Gibbs, who picked up a knee injury, out of there. Craig Ellis is met by Glenn Jackson and James Parker behind the line of scrimmage.
Boy, watch the quickness of James Parker, number 40, as he just closes right down. Absolutely nobody touches him. He meets him at the line of scrimmage. Great quickness by James Parker, number 40. Supposed to be a cross block, but nobody picked up Parker.
A loss of 1. As you look at it once more, it's second down and 11 as we get back to the live action. Argos at their own 42-yard line. Blitz from Glenn Jackson. He got the ball to Cox. He needed a block or two to pick up the first down. Cox got it to the 50-yard line, and Tyrone Cruz, coming from the inside, made the tackle, and it's third down for Toronto.
Dale, just a little update. During the halftime, I had a chance at the dressing room area to talk to a couple of other players we were wondering about. Chris Woods left, as you recall, late in the second quarter. He has pulled a hamstring. He'll probably see limited, if any, action in the second half. And Kevin Konar, the great British Columbia linebacker, has been used only sporadically tonight. He's had a bad back all week and is just getting over it. They're trying to use him just sparingly.
You know, there's a lot of talk about the Canadian Football League and lack of support by fans and so forth, but I got a little buddy of mine sitting next to me right now, Stevie Townsend, who is here for Expo. Actually, Steve's from the Hamilton area, and he is one of the great all-time fans of the Canadian Football League. Steve, it's good to have you here. Steve has got a Merv Fernandez jersey on. He's got some buddies on the BC Lions Football Club, including Glenn Jackson and so on, but he says his number 1 player in the CFL is Wayne Lee. Is that right, Steve? He is. Well, he's going to be playing against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next week, and I'm sure you wish him luck. Steve, great to have you with us.
Steve being from Hamilton, obviously not an Argonauts fan. There's a penalty on the punt return by Darnell Clash. It was against Toronto, so that moves the ball out to the BC 31 where the Lions go on offense. They trail by 4 here in the third quarter. Kevan Jenkins. And he is spilled at the 34-yard line after a gain of about 3 yards.
You might have seen little Stevie on camera there. He's had a bit of a disability problem. He's had some spine problems and so forth. He ignores them all to get to Canadian Football League games. And he especially wants to say hello to his dad, Jerry, back in Hamilton.
Second down play, 7 to go. Kevan Jenkins made that nice inside move, got across the 40 and a first down out to the 43-yard line. Rasevich and Harding team up to make the tackle. Good job by Kevan Jenkins. Cuts it back inside to get past Dennis Clay and pick up enough yardage to move the yardsticks. And another series of downs to work with for BC out at their own 43. Their first possession of the third quarter, they marched it in for a touchdown. Trap play here to Jan Carinci, the slot back, taking the handoff from DeWalt. He gets to the 45, maybe the 46 before he's pushed back by Mark Seal and company.
Well, it looked like that unnecessary roughness penalty against the Toronto Argonauts Marlon Jones at the end of the first half, where they let BC get that field goal to close out the first half, has sparked the Grey Cup champions a bit. They trail now by only 4.
Jan Carinci open deep down the middle. Darrell Wilson probably saved a major score. Carinci puts the ball at the Toronto 34-yard line for a gain of 26.
Man-to-man coverage as Dennis Clay, number 14, as isolation camera director Fred Fleming has him picked out on the blitz. BC Lions also had him picked out and complete a big one inside the 35-yard line. Now the Argonauts, this game's complexion has changed almost 100%.
Here's DeWalt on first down, looking for Sandusky. He turned around and made a great catch at the 1-yard line. The big plays, BC Lions are getting the big plays here in the second half.
Dale, he is so wide open that the ball is not even thrown that well. He's just behind the defensive back by 4 or 5 yards, turns around and waits for it. And the BC Lions can go ahead now with a first down at the 1-yard line.
Great adjustment to the football by Sandusky. He was looking first over his left shoulder, did a 180, and went up in the air and made the catch at the 1 first and goal.
And this is his first action in 1986.
And he's supposed to have a bit of a sore knee. Jenkins over the top, touchdown, the Lions are in front.
It's up and over as Keevan Jenkins scores from the 1-yard line. And the BC Lions, who are trailing the Argonauts 14-0 with less than a minute to go in the first half, now go in front by what will look to be 3 points. Let's see.
John Pankratz holding, throws Balderson. It is now BC 17, Toronto 14. We'll be back with more third quarter action right after this. Well, they've got something to cheer about here in BC now. The Lions have scored twice here in the early moments of the third quarter. And this is the handiest book you'll ever want to have to keep track of what's going on in the Canadian Football League. Facts and figures. It has everything in it. If you'd like a copy, there's the address, 1200 Bay Street. We'll get back to it in a moment. 12-4 Toronto. As the kickoff goes to Craig Ellis, and he comes straight up the near side of the field with it across the 35-yard line, where the Argonauts will go first and 10, a 22-yard return. And this is a noisy BC Place Stadium now that the Lions have got something going.
The first time we've seen the famous BC Lion wave all night. Chris Woods is badly missed on those kick return teams by the Argos.
Crowd of about 40,000 on hand tonight. And they're getting into it pretty good now. They'll make it tough on this young quarterback with the noise level in here. First down from the 36. Almost threw it right to James Parker. He did, but Parker didn't hang on.
I don't think James was ready for that. Look at this offense now. A complete turnaround from the first 2 periods. Watch where he hits Parker. Right in the helmet.
I know you can run, James. Let's see if you can catch. Whoa. Fortunate for the Argos that Parker did not hang on to it. Second down and 10.
Well, they're coming after him right now. Here they come again. Everybody.
Perfect timing by Keith Gooch. The pass intended for Ken Joyner, and Gooch was there to break it up.
Bill, I said it several times, but this is what I thought the BC Lions would do defensively to start this ball game. Just hurry that quarterback as much as you can. Bring those linebackers. Confuse the blocking. Make him pull it back down and find a receiver. Then you can cover tight, just like that.
When he pulled it down the first time, I thought he had no chance of getting the ball away because Parker was coming from his blind side, but he did manage to at least get the pass away. The kick by Olisic. dancing around back there and managed to pick up maybe 5 yards on the return after a 41-yard punt. They'll spot the ball at the BC 37-yard line. So the Lions offense coming back on the field. And 1 week from tonight, we'll be at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. And those Stampeders, fresh off that thrilling victory for them last night over the Ottawa Rough Riders, 31-15, will host Ken Hobart and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 7:30 start time at McMahon Stadium, 9:30 Eastern time on the full CTV network. 1 week from tonight. Keevan Jenkins, the middle opens up. He's to the 45-yard line and has a gain of 8 yards.
Well, all of a sudden, the defense had shut off the Grey Cup champion Lions almost completely in the first half, with the exception of those quick throws over the middle, is now bending to most of their offensive thrust.
BC Lion injured on the play.
Here's a good job of exactly what we mean, or a good example. Watch Roper, number 65, come out and take the newcomer Pless all the way back. That's a great job by an offensive lineman.
John Pankratz, the injured ball player.
The Lions can't very well afford for any other receivers to go down. Missing the greatest one in their history, Merv Fernandez.
With the injury to Pankratz, that means that young Scott Leckie from the ski country of Collingwood, Ontario, will come into the ball game, number 34, line up in that slot position. You see Pankratz making his way to the bench. It's been all BC here in the second half. They have scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. Ned Armour making a fabulous catch right over the top of the safety, Jerry Nash. And then Jim Sandusky with a beautiful grab, put the ball on the 1-yard line, and Keevan Jenkins took it in from there. 17-14, BC leads it. They trailed 14-3 at halftime. Jenkins on second down and a little better than a yard to go, and he has stood up right at the line of scrimmage. Brad Foytek, number 64 out of Florida State.
Ned Armour looked like he picked that pass of Roy DeWalt's right off a tray, didn't he? He just reached over top, grabbed it, and walked into the end zone.
With regard, fellows, to the injury to Johnny Pankratz, it's only a Charlie horse, and he'll be able to get rid of it and be back in the game shortly, I'm sure.
Bruising football game here in Vancouver.
It really is, Dale. The hitting is really severe. We've had an awful lot of guys go down in this game tonight.
So it is third down for the Lions. Inches to go at their own 47-yard line. The difference in favor of the Argos in the punting department tonight. That was expected. We talked about that at the opening of the show. The kicking game probably favored Toronto. DeWalt keeps, and he's got it up for the first down. Vasevich there trying to push him back. The Lions have picked up 8 first downs this quarter, and the Argos have yet to pick up a first down in the second half.
Good job of firing out the veteran center Al Wilson leading the way. And with 5 minutes remaining in this third quarter, the Lions once again pick up a first down. They'll scrimmage the ball from their 53 now. And they've evened things up in that department.
Pankratz is back into the ball game. DeWalt in trouble. And he goes down with Rodney Harding getting the sack at the 36-yard line.
Well, Roy, obviously one of the best throwers in the Canadian Football League, but not nifty on the feet like his counterpart with the Argonauts. And if somebody gets in there, Roy's going to get sacked, and he did. The loss is about 12 yards. The Lions will be 2nd and 22.
4 minutes remaining in the third quarter. 2nd and very long. Setting up the middle screen to Sandusky. And DeWalt threw it just a little bit behind him.
Timing there may have been a little bit wrong. I think Sandusky maybe split a little bit quicker than he wanted to, or than Roy thought he would. Hold up a couple of counts and then come across. So we'll see the Lions having to kick the ball away, and the Argonauts should have good field position.
This will be the first time Osbaldiston has had the punts since the second quarter. Again, there's that punting average tonight. The edge to Illicik. Towering punt by Osbaldiston. Mishandled by Ken Joyner. And he is stopped at the 20-yard line. Great punt, great downfield coverage, mishandled the return, and with the score, BC 17, Toronto 14 after a 52-yard punt. We'll be back in just a moment. There's our score. Roy DeWalt, just in the background, I think he's walked completely out of the picture now, is holding his right hand. He seemed to have hurt his throwing hand on that last sack by Rodney Harding.
Cowan is going back behind the BC Lion bench and warming up, Dale, so
along with DeWalt. Norman Gibbs has returned for the Toronto Argonauts. First down, Toronto at their own 19-yard line. Greg Ellis, who had split off as a wide receiver to the left side, makes the catch, goes out of bounds at the 24. Forced out there by Keith Gooch, Glenn Jackson. The gain, 5 yards, 2nd down and 5. Norman Gibbs has left the game twice, and now Roy DeWalt testing that throwing arm. Seemed to jam his right hand just a little bit.
The motion looks perfectly clean there, Bill.
He'll be back. Argos 2nd down and 5 from their own 24. Gibbs finds Joyner. He finds first down yardage across the 35 to the 37 before Gooch could bring him down. Ken Joyner signed out of a free agent camp in Norfolk, Virginia this past spring. He's out of Kentucky State. And of course, he was the man who blocked that punt last week in Montreal, which resulted in an Argonaut touchdown.
There's a good picture of the new CFL football 1986. A little slimmer, easier to throw.
Greg Ellis again. Gets to the sidelines, given a little push by Kevin Konar, 42-yard line. And he's got 5 yards again. So it's 2nd down and 5 yards to go.
Mike Gray in there getting a lick on Norman Gibbs. He's had a rough night in terms of being hit, but it hasn't stopped him from completing about 10 in a row, is it not?
That's what it is right now.
Good protection.
Penalty marker comes down as Gibbs steps up and goes deep for Townsend. Darnell Clash with Townsend all the way. Holding indication against Toronto. The Lions, I'm sure, will decline it and force them to punt.
I was just about to give a great compliment to the Toronto Argonauts because they picked up the linebacker coming up the middle, stopped everybody right at the line of scrimmage.
Decline, 3rd down.
The only problem is you can't do it when you hold the folks. They really did a good job of picking up Ty Cruz in the middle there. Cruz got up and put a little pressure on him.
Conrad, who has not played tonight because of a knee injury. Hank Illicik to Darnell Clash from his own 26-yard line. Clash looking to turn it upfield, and the Argonauts are there. Good coverage. Dennis Clay leading the way. An 11-yard return after a 42-yard punt. We want to remind you tomorrow on Wide World of Sports here on CTV. We'll have the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce equestrian event from Spruce Meadows. The Cleveland Grand Prix featuring drivers Michael and Mario Andretti, Al Unser, and Bobby Rahal. And we'll also have live WBA Junior Heavyweight fight between Dwight Quawi and Evander Holyfield. That's all tomorrow on CTV's Wide World of Sports.
If we get over zero coverage and over, okay, full week with Ellis going.
Players shaking up all over the place here tonight.
By the way, Dale, the Special Olympics begin next week in Calgary, Alberta, and CTV will have highlights of that on future Wide World of Sports shows. As you see Rocky Long, assistant with the BC Lions, on one side of the field, and Jerry Nash being taken off now. The Argonauts side, Darryl Clash, the injured BC Lion.
Clash hurt himself earlier, Frank, you'll recall. He keeps just re-injuring that knee. By the way, it was a bit of a hand bruise for Roy DeWalt, but he'll stay in the ball game.
I think I said Darryl. I better say Darnell. He doesn't like that mispronounced.
You see that mark on his left arm there. Good example of what artificial turf will do to the skin.
A little slow burns.
Lions are first and 10 from their own 37-yard line with a minute and a half to go in the third quarter. BC in front, 17-14. DeWalt for Sandusky. This time it works. Sandusky out to the 50 and a first down. A pickup of 13 yards for the Lions. Sandusky, the man activated to replace Fernandez.
And an innovative offensive football club. Delay pattern, almost a downfield screen to Sandusky, which they misconnected on moments ago. This time Sandusky gets it up to the 50.
Willie Pless, number 32, coming across to make the tackle. Less than a minute to go, third quarter. Fakes the draw this time to Keevan Jenkins. Deep down the middle, Sandusky with a fine catch on his hip. First down BC at the Toronto 42. 18 yards that time.
Well, that's the second great catch that Sandusky's made in this third quarter. The earlier one, of course, put them in touchdown territory as he moved to the 1-yard line, but that ball was a little behind him. Good job of adjusting.
A lot of ways Jim Sandusky catches the ball and runs a little bit the way Tommy Scott used to run those patterns for first Winnipeg and then those glorious years in Edmonton. There's Keevan Jenkins right up the middle for a couple on first down. He's got more than a couple. He's got close to 4 yards. Roy DeWalt clicking now here in the second half. His numbers weren't all bad in the first half. He just wasn't being able to move the team up and down the field. This will be the last play of the third quarter, barring a penalty. Going deep for Ned Armour, just a little too far at the 5-yard line. So time has run out here in the third quarter. The Lions lead it 17-14 over the Argos. We'll be back with the fourth quarter in just a moment. With Frank Rigney and Al McCann and the rest of the CTV crew here at BC Place Stadium in Vancouver. And the Lions on the opening play of the fourth quarter will attempt to increase their lead over the Argonauts. 45-yard field goal attempt by Osbaldiston, and is good. What a night he's having. That's his longest of the season, and coming into the night he was 0 for 2 from 40 yards or out in field goals. Now he's 2 for 2 tonight from 40 and over.
I think the young guy's a little pleased too. Watch this. All right.
Yeah. It'll make him feel a lot better. He's under a lot of pressure replacing a guy like Louis Pasaglia.
Oh, Louis is only a legend, that's all.
Well, the Lions have taken over the lead in the statistical department as well. 349 total yards to 220. They're even up in first downs, and BC now leads at 20-14, not 17-14. BC 20, Toronto 14.
Yeah, you know what really amazes me? We were talking about kickers. Hank Olisic just had a birthday a couple of days ago. He was 27 years old, and this is his 10th year in the Canadian Football League, isn't it?
I was reading about that yesterday. Right out of St. Joseph High School in Edmonton, he joined the Eskimos. And he could play for another 15. You never know. The kick by Osbaldiston goes to Craig Ellis at the 15-yard line. Ellis out across the 40 to near the 43-yard line. Okay, Al.
Dale, you're looking at safety Jerry Nash, who dislocated a finger, and he's in some pain, as you can see. Freddie Dunbar doing a number on him, the trainer, and I think Jerry will play again, but it must be tough to go out there with a broken finger. By the way, Darnell Clash is back in the game, Frank. This last injury wasn't his knee. He jammed his neck, of all things. But he's back in again.
Oh, you get those finger injuries, Al, it's not that big a deal unless you got to make change for $1.
There's Clash. He'll line up against Jeff Townsend on first down for the Argos. Gibbs under big pressure from Jackson and then Walter Ballard. Back at the 30-yard line. It's a loss of 13 yards. Whoa. No chance for the young quarterback that time.
No, he was doing a great job in the first half of avoiding the rush, but you can't avoid them all. Jackson with the initial pressure. At one point in this ball game, BC Lions had 4 sacks and Toronto's nothing, but Toronto led 14-0.
Second down and 23 yards to go for the Argos back at their own 30. Gibbs escapes the pressure. Now he's going to have to keep it. Now a penalty flag comes down because Kevin Konar hit him out of bounds. There's no doubt that Gibbs was well out of bounds when Konar made the hit on him. Now he didn't hit him that hard, but he did hit him.
Well, I think what the officials are trying to call this here, Dale, is unnecessary contact. It's obvious that Gibbs is going out of bounds.
Yeah, and he is well out of bounds.
BC number 31, first down.
He had one foot out and had the next one going out when Kevin hit him.
So that moves the ball up to the midfield stripe, and it's first down for the Argonauts. A break for them. They would have been looking at a punting situation. Second penalty against Konar. First down from the 55. The give is to Craig Ellis. Oh! And it was Mike Gray who reached out and seemed to snap Ellis's head back a little bit.
Konar that put the hit on him, though.
Yeah, Konar finished him off.
Kevin wasn't very happy with that penalty call against him. Watch this. That's a stick.
Gray looked to get a piece of his face mask, but he didn't hang on to it. Just enough to twist his head a touch. The gain is 3 yards, second down and 7. The ball at the BC 52. There's a penalty marker down. It looked like Mike Gray jumped offside. Gibbs has been hit a couple of times here tonight and had to leave the ball game, and he's still running with it. Glenn Jackson and Kevin Konar team up that time to put the stop on him, and we have Jackson shaken up.
Now Konar is trying to make up for his error moments ago, and it's all over the field. I think Mike Gray, however, was the one called offside.
BC on the defense. Define.
Obviously defined. The first down was picked up by the run by Gibbs. Well, it's swinging back a little bit the other way. The Argonauts starting to put things together offensively. They trail by only 6 points, and there's 12-20 remaining in this football game.
The Argos, one of 2 teams in the CFL in 1986, still undefeated. Gibbs gets the pass off to Joyner, but James Parker, amazingly, was over there to make the stop immediately. Gibbs is slow getting up again. Edmonton Eskimos, of course, the other team that is undefeated, and they'll be in action tomorrow. Taylor Field Regina against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who promise to be a whole lot better than they were last week. So the gain was only a yard by Joyner. It's second down and 9 from the 42. Gibbs is showing a lot of courage. He's hanging in there tough, even though he knows that
That BC defense is coming right after him. And he is taking some licks tonight.
Yeah, he's going to know he played a full football game.
So this is what it's like to start.
That backup role may not look too bad to him after this.
Bates is out there now to hold for Lance Chomick on a 49-yard field goal attempt, which would be his longest of the season if successful. It has definitely got the distance. It is good. The score now reads BC 20 and Toronto 17. We'll be back in just a moment. Tomorrow night on the full CTV network, Tom Clements and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will visit Ken Hobart and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 7:30 start at Iverwin Stadium on the full CTV network. 7:30 the start time Eastern time. That is 6:30 Manitoba time. Here's our score tonight. 2017, BC leading Toronto. 11 minutes left in the ball game. The Lions first down from their own 35-yard line. Lance Chomick just kicking a field goal. He's 8 for 8 this year in field goals.
And he's been tested a couple times tonight. One from 49 yards.
Jenkins, the ball carrier, on first down. He has a couple of yards. In there defensively for the Toronto Argonauts, Mark Seal. BC bench. Kevin Konar has made a difference since he came in. That is Merv Fernandez on the left there with the jacket that's open, the BC jacket. Second down and 8. Look out. DeWalt gets the pass away. It is complete down the middle to John Pankratz for a first down.
And DeWalt got destroyed by 2 of the Argonaut rushers. There was no penalty on the play, but Roy is down and hurting. He's going to have to come out of there for at least one play. You'll see the big rush come from Roy's left. It was a delayed rush, and he got kind of sandwiched between 2 Argonauts. Tim Cowan hurriedly putting on his helmet at the sideline, trying to get some instructions from the coaching staff as DeWalt is stretched out on the field. 42,326 here tonight, enjoying an entertaining football game, which sees the BC Lions leading 2017 with 10:05 remaining.
You know, Frank, both quarterbacks have taken a real physical beating tonight. Norman Gibbs on one hand and Roy DeWalt. Like you mentioned, that was a particularly hard hit on DeWalt, but he's a very resilient quarterback. Although, I always worry when the doctor comes out.
Tim Cowan warming up. We'll remind you that 1 week from tonight, Ken Hobart and the Tiger Cats will be visiting McMahon Stadium in Calgary to meet the Stampeders, who came up with that big win last night in Ottawa. And that'll be a 7:30 start at McMahon, 9:30 Eastern time on the full CTV network. The Lions leading by 3 here in the fourth quarter. Concerned now, though, because of the injury to Roy DeWalt. 10 minutes left in the ball game.
Well, I'll tell you, they do not need any severe injury to Roy DeWalt. They already have 2 key players out of this lineup. Of course, Lou Pasaglia, which we've talked about a lot, and the great one, Swervin Mervin Fernandez. And, of course, the Argonauts are missing Conrad Holloway, too, so they have been working under somewhat of a handicap, although Norman Gibbs has provided great work with that quarterback spot.
It would appear, Frank, that the right arm is the problem with Roy DeWalt. They're fixing their attention on his arm, maybe in the wrist area.
Well, maybe when he gets off the field, you can check whether or not that's a re-injury on his earlier problem.
He is on his feet.
May well have hit that on the defender's
helmet,
shoulder pad or helmet as he followed through after delivering the football.
So that brings Tim Cowan into the ball game. He scored the lone BC touchdown in last week's loss up in Edmonton. And Cowan, of course, 4-year veteran out of Washington University, has not had a chance to play very much. We'll get a report on DeWalt as soon as possible.
I don't think you'll see any more of them down the way. Look.
First down for the BC Lions at their own 46-yard line. Fumble. Cowan trying to hand off to to Keevan Jenkins, and the timing was bad there, and the Argonauts have the ball. Mark Seal makes the fumble recovery.
I don't know if Jenkins was a little too quick or Cowan just took one too many steps backward before he tried to hand that football off, but obviously, as you say, the timing just wasn't there. What a big turnover. Appear to be working on Roy's right elbow or upper arm.
First down for the Argonauts at the BC 45. Here's Gibbs under pressure. He is sacked again. Back on the Argonauts side of midfield at the 53-yard line. Mel Bird was in there. A loss of 12.
And James Parker, number 40.
Ballard with the early pressure.
He really needed to get rid of that football. That's a huge loss. 10, 15, well, about 14 yards, so second and 24, and when they need a big play defensively, they look to that guy.
Line of scrimmage now at the 53 of Toronto. Gibbs deep down the middle for Pearson, and almost intercepted by Larry Crawford. Throwing into what turned out to be double coverage is Crawford floating around back there. Ellis shaken up on the play now.
And Craw, who led these BC Lions his first 3 years in interceptions, should have picked that football off. It might not make much difference because he would have been tackled immediately by Pearson. Lissink will have to get a great punt away, put them much further back. Obviously, the upper arm, the problem with Roy DeWalt, the ice pack.
Well, that's what it is, Frank.
The Argonauts not able to take advantage of the turnover. Lissink punting to the 10-yard line. Darnell clash, and there's a penalty for clipping.
And there's no question he did it. It was John Elmer, number 44.
Yeah, Elmer clipped Cliff Hewitt.
We'll find out if that's the call when we come back, but it looks like blocking infraction against the Lions.
Well, it's long-range good news for British Columbia fans. Roy DeWalt's injury is not all that serious. It's diagnosed as a bruise on the arm above the elbow. It pinched the nerves and numbed the hand, but they feel he will be all right, but probably, in fact, in all likelihood, will not play anymore tonight. So it's short-range bad news, long-range good news.
And, of course, Tim Cowan has replaced DeWalt, and his first play resulted in a fumble and a bad exchange between Cowan and Keevan Jenkins. The Argos recovering that fumble, but now the Lions have the ball back. Cowan setting up the screen, and it is almost intercepted. Again, they were trying to hit Sandusky with what is really best described, as Frank said earlier, a downfield type of screen. Graisley almost picked it off. There was a lot of traffic in there.
Good young quarterback, Tim Cowan, but you can see that he has not gotten much game time. Actually, not gotten much game time at any point in his career with BC, with the exception of Roy DeWalt being hurt.
Second down and 10 from the 10. Airing it out for Ned Armour. What a great throw and catch. First down line,
big play
at the 54-yard line of Toronto. Beautifully thrown football, 46-yard gain.
And just exactly when the Lions needed a big play to get them out of trouble. And second and 10, and Cowan let that go from about his own 3-yard line. A perfect strike, 45 yards downfield.
Beating Carl Graisley on the pass play. It's sure pretty to watch. And the Lions, big play team, they do it pretty well, better than anybody else. Jenkins dives for a couple. Moon, Vasevich are there defensively. It'll be second down and about 8 yards to go. 6 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. The Lions in front, 20-17. They trailed 14-3 at halftime. Came out and quickly scored a couple of touchdowns in the third quarter. One on a beautiful catch by Ned Armour.
6 downfield. Let's take a boo. But the BC Lions coaching staff and players came right out on the field. hoping for a call.